Hello there, I'm Blackbright. If it's the first time you're passing through, you're welcome to click the fingers up, the thumbs down, and subscribe, share, the usual. I tend to share a lot of information that I think is useful to everyone who really doesn't have time to look at the news or look at legislation, understand the changes. And a lot of times when the media is reporting on the news, they report on mostly the current stuff. So all the other little bits and pieces, they kind of get swept under the carpet. So I kind of hope that I highlight a lot of things that may be going on behind the surface, which are still relevant to our daily lives. And that is what I talk about. So today I wanted to talk about the visa extension you may or may not have heard. It was extended until the 31st of May. There's now been a further extension until the 31st of July. Priti Patel seems to think it's to give the foreign nationals some peace of mind, and it probably is, but they don't really have a choice. I don't think so, because if you can't get out of the country, what are you to do? I mean, the only thing you can do in this kind of situation is to formalise the process. And that is what this is about. It's about formalising the process for those people who are in the country legally and who have applied for the extension to the 31st of May. They've had that extension approved. So now those same people can complete an online form and have it extended to the 31st of July. Remember, the criteria for extension is that you either have to be self-isolating because you've caught the coronavirus. Of course, this is going to have to be evidenced by the GP and what have you. Your country can't accept you back for whatever reason, or travel restrictions. And of course, there might be other circumstances beyond your control, but whatever the reason, you need to have evidence. If you do not have evidence and you're staying in this country until the 31st of July, then you're liable to immigration prosecution. Now, this extension doesn't apply to visitors or those on a tourist visa, unless their country, like the other ones, are, you can't get back. So, but they have less protection. They need to get out of the country as soon as it is feasible, i.e. as soon as the planes are running, as soon as the airports are open. Visitors need to be leaving the country. So I think that is on. Also, non-EU migrants under the work or study visa, the Home Office is relaxing the requirements for the sponsors. So you might need to look into that to know how it affects you, but just so you know, they are being a bit relaxed. And yeah, so what else is there? Online applications need to be made. As I said before, in-country facilities are also in place for those applying for longer stays. So if you're applying for leave to remain for any reason, there are in-country facilities for that. What else is there? So all I can say is please do not use the visa extension as an excuse to stay. It's best to leave the country with dignity, so you cannot be accused of exploiting the system. Like I said, let me just repeat and summarise. The only rights you have to stay until the 31st of July or even the 31st of May, which is next week, is you are self-isolating. There are travel restrictions. The country, your home country, is preventing you from returning, or you have been obstructed by some other conditions outside your control. And for whichever one you choose, you're going to need evidence. Hard evidence. So what else is there? The health and social care workers. Somebody sent me a video on this actually. Are they going to be discarded once they've done all their bit for the NHS? That wouldn't be very nice, would it? But let me just see who sent it to me.
I'm from.
Okay, so at the moment, the health and social care workers have an extension of the bereavement scheme, I think for a year, to support lower salaried health and social care workers, so their families do not get booted out if they die. At the moment, I'm not quite sure, like I said, whether or not that only applies if they're in the middle of some kind of visa application, because technically, if they're not here legally, whether their spouse is an NHS worker or social care worker, that shouldn't really make a difference. I'm trying to think out of the box. Just suppose that the NHS worker is on the bereavement scheme. They've been assigned to the bereavement scheme. If their spouse is not legally in the country, surely it wouldn't really, the fact that their spouse has died shouldn't mean that they stay, if you see what I mean. So unless they're making a concession that if they are illegally in the country and their spouse has died in service, whether it's by working in the hospital or whatever, they are going to give them a reprieve, like an amnesty. I'm not quite sure. That's not clear to me, that part. But anyway, at the moment, spouses of NHS workers, because I don't understand how it would apply otherwise. But I guess I get it. I think I get it. I think I've had a light bulb moment. If these NHS workers are migrants, that they've come over on a work visa and they brought their family over on a work visa, I think that is what it is, then that work visa is temporary, technically. So I think what the Home Office is saying is that if the person who has applied for the work visa and is working for the health service or social care dies in service, then the family would not be able, the family would not get kicked out, albeit they're on a visa. They would get indefinite leave to remain, and it's free of charge. Now, I don't think that will be rest too well with the far right and some of these people that are moaning about immigration, to know that, just because one person's died, the whole family could stay and in the country free of charge. But you have to remember that the immigrants, through the health surcharge, the immigrant health surcharge, have raised 920 million over 4 years. So yeah, you might think that they're coming into the country, and the families that are being allowed to stay free of charge, which it's only £2,000. That's what they won't have to pay for the health surcharge. But what am I talking about? The health surcharge, the visas. So it's not, they have more than paid their way. That's what I'm trying to say. £920 million over 4 years. That's how much the immigration surcharge has raised. That £920 million is not just from health workers. It's actually from the whole immigrant population who have applied for visas. So, announced on the 21st of May, migrants who work for the health service will not have to pay the immigration health surcharge of £400 a year. For the youth mobility scheme and students, it's £300. This was charged in the past because working for the NHS, I assume, was a privilege. And because it was a privilege, they had to pay for that privilege. Because remember, the health service is not a right. It is a privilege. Although people have been coming over, and even though they come over and people think they come over and access the NHS free of charge, they don't. Their country gets charged. So it's not a free service. So what the government was doing was charging the immigrants who wanted to come over and stay longer in the UK, charging them the immigration health surcharge that would supplement costs of health, even if they didn't use it. Health and of course they didn't get free prescriptions, just like any one of us. They don't get free prescriptions or dental or opticians, nothing like that. It's just literally just in case they need to use the health service, they pay the 400. Now that 400 is going to go up to 624 in October. So even though for now the health workers do not have to pay it, this is not indefinite. It's just while the crisis is going on. They will manage to recoup it because it's being increased by nearly 40%, isn't it? From 400 to 624 pounds. And that's in effect in October. So they'll more than recoup their money back for those health workers who don't have to pay, because that immigrant health surcharge is for the whole immigrant population, as I said before. So they won't be losing out. So don't start fretting, you people who are thinking, oh my God, you've got these immigrants coming over here, one died, and now they're keeping the whole family here. Oh, how are we going to cope? We're already in a crisis. We don't have any money, and now they're leaving all these immigrants and paying for them to stay in our country. What next? You don't have to worry, okay? So what else am I going to talk about? A recent New York... Oh, let me play the video of this guy.
The government. And today I want to unveil our new message to immigrant key workers. Get out. We at the government are all very grateful that you've been risking your lives to take care of us in hospitals, to grow our food, to deliver us post, to keep us clean, drive our buses, trains and taxis, and, well, do all the vital things that have kept this country running during the pandemic. But we need to let you know that once this pandemic has been sorted, we don't really want you in the country anymore. Which is why we've announced new immigration policies that would class the vital work you've been doing as low skill. Under our new points-based system, anyone earning less than £25,600, which is pretty much every key worker I mentioned earlier, will no longer be considered as having any worth whatsoever.
Our approach to the points-based system is for the brightest and the best. It's for the high skills that we do need. So yes, we will bring overall numbers down by reducing the number of people with low skills coming to the United Kingdom.
So yes, you may be the only thing stopping us from dying from a fatal illness or starving to death, but because you don't earn enough, we just don't consider you the brightest and the best. But I don't want you to think we don't value your contribution. So we've extended all visas for immigrants working in healthcare by 1 year. We know you have enough to worry about, with the daily threat of spreading and catching COVID-19, made worse, of course, by the lack of adequate PPE. So rest assured, we won't kick you out until we no longer need you. So finally, on behalf of the government, to all our key workers who are doing so much for the country, thanks a lot. Now leave.
A little sardonic rendition there, which I thought I would share because I thought it was... some points were quite interesting, weren't they? And the way he did it was pretty clever. So yeah, I wanted to share that. Now, a recent New York survey found that 66% of people with the coronavirus were self-isolating at home. They had not gone outside, they had not travelled on public transport, they were not essential workers like nurses and doctors, they had not taken a plane, they were not interacting with anyone. So how did they catch the coronavirus? 84% of people in their 60s who stayed at home were infected with the coronavirus. So this feeds into the conspiracy theory that the virus is being dispelled from helicopters or, being released in the air in some way. In which case, what is the point of isolating and locking down the country? Governor Cuomo is looking into it because it is a bit weird, isn't it? If you've been self-isolating, you haven't been in contact with anyone, how the hell do you catch the virus? The only way you can catch it is if maybe you've opened up your window and these particles have come into your house. So anyway, Another thing to worry about, or maybe not to worry about. I still think that if you catch it, you're better off. Try to get immune to it and move on. So now we've got some problems for these small businesses mainly, because apparently as of August, businesses are going to have to pay a portion of the furlough money for their employees. UK firms to pay part of furlough staff's wages from August 2020. I think that this is going to encourage redundancies and layoffs, because I thought that furlough money was like a gift, to help out. What's the point of saying we're giving out all these billions to help businesses when then you're going to ask them to pay it back when they're at their lowest, when they haven't even started August? You're not going to recoup much by August. So how are you going to be able to pay? And they don't say what percentage the businesses have to pay, but how are you going to pay employees' wages or salaries by August, regardless, even if it's £200 and you've got a lot of employees? That's still a lot of money. So anyway, employers will be able to take furloughed workers back part-time. I mean, that technically means at least they're getting something for their money, whereas as opposed to them paying furlough and not being allowed to work. But even then, they're only being allowed to work part-time. And all employers using the coronavirus job retention scheme will be required to make the payments even if they remain closed. I wonder if they knew that before, whether it would have made a difference. I mean, these businesses who accepted the furlough money, I wonder if the government had said, okay, this is what we're doing now, but in 6 months' time, all of you who have accepted the furlough scheme will be required to pay a portion of your employees' wages. I wonder if they would have said, you know what, I'm not going to take the furlough scheme. I'm just going to lay off the staff from now. I wonder what difference that would have made. Or if they even knew. Maybe they knew. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I didn't see it before that it needed to be, employers needed to pay a portion back to their employees. Anyway, HM Revenue and Customs considers umbrella companies to be employers. So all contractors working with them should sign a contract of employment which establishes their rights. If contractors have a contract, third-party companies can furlough them during the crisis. Apparently there's been 795 reports of fraud. These are being investigated. They haven't all been corroborated. HMRC will pursue criminal action if they find anyone who is at fault. Employers have asked, and the way that they would have breached the furlough scheme is by asking staff to work while on furlough. Employers have claimed times when staff were working and employers are not paying staff enough. So if any business has been found guilty of any of those three crimes, they're going to be in trouble. So somebody's reported them, so it will be investigated. So yeah, the furlough scheme, I don't know if it's a safety scheme or whether a form of entrapment. It all depends whether or not employers knew beforehand that they would need to contribute. So no more free travel. This is my final part. The Transport of London were allowing free travel from the 20th of April. And this was to avoid the conductor, the person driving the bus, from getting contaminated by money and all that kind of stuff. But now, as of yesterday, the 23rd of May, it has stopped. So no more free travel, folks, on the trains and the buses. And that really is a luxury because the travel in the UK is so expensive. A lot of people couldn't benefit from it anyway because we was on lockdown, but a lot of the essential workers were able to benefit from it. So now they won't be able to benefit from it. But hey, a little bit of something is better than nothing. So all I wanted to do is kind of update you on those few little things. I hope you have a lovely week. Tomorrow's a bank holiday, like I said, in the UK. My head is in New York. And yeah, so I'm not quite sure what the weather's going to be like. I'll probably go for a nice long walk later and do my little bits and pieces and, see a couple of friends. And yeah, that's about it. So keep safe. And that's all for now. Bye-bye.